If you run a food and beverage distribution business, non-alcoholic products like bottled water, soft drinks, juices, snacks, frozen goods, or dry groceries, one small problem can turn into a significant insurance claim faster than in many other industries. You're moving inventory that has to stay fresh or properly chilled. Every day, trucks leave your warehouse loaded with pallets. Drivers make multiple stops at grocery stores, convenience stores, and restaurants, and your team handles receiving, storing, and shipping. There's constant motion, a lot of handling, and a lot of reliance on things going right at every step. Most days they do. Orders get picked correctly, deliveries happen on schedule, refrigeration systems work as expected, and customers are satisfied. The business runs on routine. But when something does go wrong, it usually starts small and escalates quickly if you're not prepared. Take a common delivery scenario. One of your drivers is unloading cases of bottled beverages at the grocery store. It's a tight receiving area with foot traffic, and the floor isn't perfect. The pallet jack catches on a loose tile or a small lip in the concrete, tips slightly, and a few cases fall. A couple of bottles break. Liquid spreads across the floor, damages nearby shelving, and seeps into a display cooler that belongs to the store. Now the store manager is involved. Cleanup has to happen immediately. The cooler may need repair or replacement, and the store may lose product that was already stocked nearby. What started as a few broken bottles now includes property damage, cleanup costs, and potentially lost sales from the retailer. This is exactly where general liability insurance applies. It covers bodily injury or property damage your operations cause to someone else's property, along with legal defense costs if the situation escalates into a dispute. Without that, you're writing checks out of pocket, and even small incidents can turn into expensive ones once third party property is involved. What general liability does not cover, though, is damage to your own product. The broken cases themselves are usually your loss unless you've structured coverage elsewhere. This is a distinction that surprises a lot of distributors after a claim happens. Now let's move from delivery damage to product related claims, which tend to be more complex and more expensive. Imagine you distribute a line of fruit juices. Everything looks normal on the surface. The product arrives from the manufacturer sealed and labeled. You store it properly and you distribute it according to schedule. But upstream, something went wrong. The pasteurization process wasn't quite right on one production run. It's not immediately obvious and the product still ships. Weeks later, stores begin receiving complaints. Customers report off taste, some experience stomach discomfort, a few seek medical attention. Eventually, the manufacturer issues a recall, but by then, the product has already passed through your warehouse and onto retail shelves. Even though you didn't manufacture the product, your company is named in the claims. That's because you're part of the distribution chain. Plaintiffs' attorneys don't stop at the manufacturer. They name everyone involved: manufacturer, distributor, sometimes even the retailer. This is where product liability insurance becomes critical. It addresses claims alleging that a product you distributed caused bodily injury or illness after it left your control. Even if the root cause was upstream, you're still defending yourself. Legal costs begin immediately, often long before fault is established. Defense expenses alone can be substantial, even if the claim is eventually resolved in your favor. In practice, most product liability claims in food and beverage distribution are not dramatic nationwide outbreaks. They're far more localized and operational. A customer with a nut allergy buys a snack bar labeled nut free, but trace contamination occurred due to shared equipment at the manufacturing facility. A refrigerated yogurt shipment sits too long on a loading dock during a heat wave, compromising temperature control. A handful of customers get sick, and suddenly there are medical bills, documentation requests, and legal notices. These situations arise from everyday risks, temperature fluctuations, labeling errors, supplier mistakes, not intentional misconduct. And once the product leaves your warehouse, you're still in the chain of responsibility. Courts don't look at intent, they look at involvement. Transportation adds another layer of exposure. Whether you operate refrigerated vans making local deliveries, straight trucks serving multiple shops per day, or semis hauling loads regionally, your vehicles are on the road constantly. Frequent stops, tight loading zones, urban traffic, and long hours increase the odds of an accident. A driver backs into a parked vehicle while unloading. A car pulls unexpectedly into a delivery lane. There's a multi vehicle accident on the highway involving injuries. Commercial auto insurance responds to liability for injuries or property damage you cause to others. If you carry physical damage coverage, it can also help repair or replace your own vehicles. Personal auto insurance almost never applies in these situations. Insurers look closely at vehicle use, cargo type, and driving frequency. If a vehicle is used for deliveries, it needs to be insured as a commercial vehicle. Using the wrong policy can lead to denied claims, even if premiums were paid. Many suppliers and contracts require specific limits, like $1 million in liability, to stay compliant. For perishable goods, transportation risk isn't just about accidents, it's about temperature control. Picture a refrigerated truck on an overnight haul. The reefer unit malfunctions somewhere along the route. The driver may not notice right away, or the alert system fails. By morning, the temperature has been out of range for hours. Ice cream melts, produce wilts, milk sours. The entire load is unsellable and has to be destroyed. The customer now has empty shelves. They've lost sales. They need replacement inventory fast. Motor truck cargo insurance, often structured as inland marine coverage with a spoilage endorsement, can cover the value of the spoiled inventory. Some policies also cover additional expenses like expedited replacement shipments or disposal costs. This is one of the most common gaps distributors face. Many assume the manufacturer, the carrier, or another party's insurance will respond, only to find out it doesn't. Without cargo coverage, a single spoiled load can wipe out weeks of profit. Back inside the warehouse, the risks shift again. Your team is moving pallets with forklifts, stacking cases, operating conveyors, and manually handling heavy items throughout the day. A minor leak creates a slick spot on the floor. Someone slips and falls. Another employee strains their back lifting a box improperly. A forklift clips a rack during a tight maneuver. Workers' compensation insurance covers medical treatment, lost wages, and rehabilitation for job-related injuries. Most states require it once you have employees. Even when it's optional, it's essential. Health insurance typically excludes work-related injuries, and without workers' comp, injured employees may pursue direct legal action against the business. These incidents are common in warehouse environments. Slips, strains, and lifting injuries happen even in well-run operations. Workers' comp allows employees to receive care while protecting the business from lawsuits tied to workplace injuries. Property risk is another foundational exposure. Your warehouse contains not just the building itself, but also inventory, equipment, refrigeration systems, and racking. A fire starts in an electrical panel. A sprinkler line freezes and bursts during a cold snap. A roof leak goes unnoticed until water damages packaged goods below. Property insurance covers damage to the building and its contents. Business income coverage can replace lost revenue if operations are shut down while repairs are made. These events aren't everyday occurrences, but when they do happen, the financial impact is immediate. Payroll still needs to be met. Customers still expect deliveries. Without business income coverage, downtime can be devastating. Then there are the rarer but higher impact situations, full product recalls. A supplier recalls an ingredient due to potential contamination. Any product containing that ingredient must be pulled from shelves immediately. You're responsible for notifying customers, coordinating retrieval, arranging disposal, and absorbing lost sales. There may also be public relations costs to manage reputational damage. Product recall insurance can cover many of these direct expenses, including notification costs, transportation, disposal, and sometimes lost profits. Standard product liability policies often don't address these costs directly, which is why recall coverage exists as a separate solution. When you step back and look at your operation, a few practical questions matter more than anything else. Do your delivery vehicles have commercial auto limits that reflect your routes, mileage, and cargo value? Do you carry cargo coverage that specifically addresses spoilage and temperature failure? Have you reviewed supplier agreements so you understand how liability flows if something goes wrong upstream? Are employees trained on safe lifting and handling to reduce injury risk? And do your liability policies extend across operations, premises, and products so a claim from a store, a customer, or an end consumer doesn't leave you exposed? Getting these policies aligned isn't about planning for every imaginable disaster. Most days, nothing unusual happens. It's about making sure the ordinary risks that do arise don't turn into business threatening problems. If this helped clarify how insurance actually applies to real, day to day food and beverage distribution operations, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. We break these topics down in plain English so you can make better decisions long before a claim ever becomes a problem. Thank you so much for watching.